Hello and welcome to 4000 and Counting. I'm Watty and today I am joined by Kyle Locke from the Guildford Flames. Kyle, welcome to 4000 and Counting. Thanks for your time, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This is pretty special. So thanks for the invite.
So obviously you boys, you're just coming off the back of a defeat in the Challenge Cup. But again, for Guildford's relative infancy, really, they're still only 5, 6 years old. They're making it to another cup. You boys finished second last year. There's lots of positives to take in Surrey right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously not winning the Challenge Cup and then losing to Sheffield again for when they won the league. It's never fun being celebrated in front of, especially when you see the sticks going and the whole crowd. I mean, I'm going to Sheffield with 9,000 fans, right? It's never a fun place to lose in. But no, I just yeah, to what you said, we're still kind of in the infant stages, and I mean, ever since last year, we're making that culture change, that shift to be a top team, right? We did it last year. We were so close, and then just lost out to Belfast in the last weekend. But yeah, I mean, obviously things come with growing pains, but yeah, I think the direction of the club now is like we want to be one of the top teams moving forward, and we did really well in the Challenge Cup. We walked all the way right to the final, and I mean, credit to Sheffield, they're one of the better teams I've seen in this league. So yeah, it's yeah, like you said, it's in the infant stages, but I think we're taking the right steps forward, and we're building teams that can really kind of compete for trophies moving forward.
Definitely. And for anybody that watched the Challenge Cup final, I know it was on TV live here, so a lot of viewing numbers. You boys fucking gave a very good account of yourself. And if maybe on another night you don't run into a guy by the name of Matt Greenfield, you might have been walking away with a trophy because he was very good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, credit to them. They're just like they are a deep team all the way through. As anyone watches them, right? Their forwards can score. They're four lines deep. They have great defensemen, and Greenfield can stand on his head and win games, right? But yeah, that game we just got out a little slow start, and then I mean, as I think is kind of the video shows, like halfway through the second and all of the third, we were just relentless, right? Like I felt we controlled it. We didn't get the goals to kind of show what we were doing. But I mean, it just goes to show you that we were right in it. I mean, like you said, Greenfield played well, played solid, but we were just we put in a really good kind of effort, and we were pretty happy with how we played, albeit we lost. But yeah, nothing really to hang your heads about on that one.
Like, well, I watched their game where they beat you late at home maybe 6 weeks ago.
Yep, about
Well, I
that.
was
Yeah,
that 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 was the first time I'd seen Sheffield in person this year. What I was most impressed about is even their skill guys work their fucking bags off. Like
yeah.
nobody takes a shift off. Everybody forechecks, everybody back checks, everybody finishes hits. Like skill guy, grinder, fucking glue guy, whoever you are, everybody plays the same.
Yeah, and they do it through their four lines, right? Like so, obviously they have their top dogs who score the goals, and I mean credit to them though. I mean, I said it before, but like their whole team scores. But their top lines, they'll hit, they'll go after you, they'll put the puck in your corner, and like I mean, even if they aren't the biggest guy or they're one of the smaller guys, they're going to hit you. They're going to try to get the puck off you, and it makes as a defenseman, it kind of makes your life difficult, right? Just going against that, regardless of the line. I mean, you got their fourth line who are the big boys, and yeah, it's just they definitely work their bag off every game, and that's I mean you see the season they're having, right? I mean,
Yeah.
kind of just you need to do that to stay on top and win trophies, right? So yeah, they have quite the team, but I mean they're beatable, right? And that's kind
Yeah.
of just for the other teams. That's just kind of what you want to kind of hang on to, right?
So the question amongst fans over the last couple of weeks is on the kind of social media has been who's the better team, Belfast from last year or Sheffield from this year? Now you guys run a close battle with Belfast last year. You obviously competed in the Challenge Cup final with the Steelers just a couple of weeks back. You're probably the one of the better people to answer that question. Which side do you think is the better hockey team?
I mean, I might get some pushback on this, but I think the team Belfast had at the end of last season is one of is the best team I've seen in this league. right?
Nicely done
Because
there. The end of last season, yeah, when they brought in fucking 17
then
guys
that's
in
and
there.
that's where the asterisk is, right? I mean, if you look at their record in the last 33, 34 games since Christmas last year. I think they were like 32-0-1 or something stupid, right? Like,
Just
and that's the
joke.
thing. Like, obviously, I want to put an asterisk on it because we had the team. We the thing with Guildford last year is we had the same team that we brought in that we finished the season with.
Yeah,
Like, lo and behold, we made like one or two changes, but like we had the same team the entire season away and or the whole way through. And that just goes to show you like the guys we had and the team we had. But I think Belfast last year, at the end of the season, they were a pretty special team, right?
they were humming, weren't they?
They were humming. They had everyone was dangerous, especially like flying to there and playing at home in front in their arena. Like if you want to talk about like home ice advantage, talk about that place. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think like I mean Sheffield obviously is great this year, but I think like especially with like Goodwood and Conway, and they brought in McLeod, and they had Gabe Bass in the back end, and Besco was the best goal
good.
I've ever seen. But he was good at like he was in his element. He was playing well. Like that team the whole way through were just like what like you just tip your cap to it, right? You're like holy. So I'd say I mean they're pretty close, right? I mean they're both kind of they're built a little bit differently, but I would say Belfast at the end of last season was quite the team to play against.
That Gabe Bass was a fucking weapon.
I mean, he was a game changer.
Good man. Like,
Yeah. I mean, he took games like that was the thing. Is like he could take games over when he wanted to, right? I mean, maybe he wasn't the most responsible this way or that way, but I mean, if you got the puck on his stick and you know something was going to happen, right? So, and then you also had Conway who could just put the puck in the net anytime he chose, right? So, yeah, no,
well,
they were a good team last year for sure.
if you look at Conway's points from last year, I can't remember what it was now, but like
I think
his points where he
90, I
finished,
think.
what he finished up with versus what the top guys got this year, there's big difference. There's a
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, I mean, I remember because Tedesco finished second, he had 80,
yeah,
and I think Conway had 90. And I'm just like, it was like 90 points, 80 points, and then like 72 or something.
yeah, there was a big drop off to the third place.
Yeah, so you could just see like just the level those guys are playing at, and hey, I mean that's still 90 points in like 54 games, right?
Yeah,
That's not including. I don't think that's including comp. I'm not quite sure,
no, it's
but
not. No, it's
yeah,
not.
and that's yeah, 90 points in 54 games. You could tell they could put the puck in the net, and that was the thing last year.
Where would you rate, obviously this is third season, where would you rate the 23-24 season versus the prior two seasons that you were here in terms of standard of the league?
Oh, every year it's gone better. I mean, I think I could speak on a lot of people's behalf. Like my first year came in right with Guildford, we were kind of just getting going. I think a lot of teams were just kind of getting going after COVID, and
Yeah,
then we increased our team, made the changes, and we finished just a couple points back of first. And then this season, now it's like you could just look at the standings between like, I mean, essentially fifth and 10th, right?
yeah.
Like everyone's competitive this year. Everyone's playing. Like no one's safe from like no one. You don't go to a team or you don't go to a place. You're like, oh, this is like points we need. It's just like every game you're going in, you're like, these guys can win, right? And you might
So
have not had that the first year, but this year, I think yeah, every year it's gone better, and this is the best year I've played in so far.
I've got it here right now. So Dundee Stars just sitting below the playoff cutoff, 49 games, 45 points. You
Yeah,
then have the Blaze, the Clan, and the Flyers all tied on 49 points. And then obviously up to you guys in Manchester and that middle bunch there. But
yeah.
yeah, you have four teams battling it out for the final like three playoff spots, but they're all tied on points. Like that's a proper good battle all the way down to the last couple of weekends of the season.
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about a good kind of two games to watch, Dundee Fife, I think play each other back to back final weekend,
Ooh, yeah,
right?
let's go.
And essentially who wins those two games are going through.
Yeah,
So that's gonna like I mean it just I think just that goes to show you how competitive this league is this year, right? Like
yeah.
everyone's playing. Uh everyone can win. Like we've beat Belfast a couple times and we've obviously played Cardiff and Coventry 10 times each, but we've beaten them a couple times. We beat Sheffield once and it just anyone can win at any given point. And it's yeah, it definitely adds a lot of. I mean, it's just good for the league in general, right? Just having a competitive league like that, like everyone can play, every game's a good game. So, yeah, it's good to see the league kind of going up and up, and I'm sure next year it's going to be even better, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm not discounting the Panthers, but they've got a lot to do there. They're 4 points back on the Stars, but just the pure fact that those boys have got through this season, started winning games again and stuff like that. I'm glad to see them start like get some victories on the tail end of the year. Had a good like 10, 12 game spell there after what they've went through. Shout out to every
Yeah,
single one of those boys, man.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you just can't put into words kind of what they would have had to deal with there. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just obviously heartbreaking. That was a huge thing in the league. I mean, it was honestly across the world as I mean, all your followers and everyone that watches hockey, the whole world knew about it,
Yeah.
right? It was yeah, it was pretty I mean, it was nice to see everyone come together, but it was just absolutely heartbreaking, especially for the guys in Nottingham having to
Yeah.
go through that. And I mean, just the mental kind of just the mental toughness you'd almost have to just get back on the ice and compete at that level, right? You just
Yeah.
see one of your players, one of your essentially really good buddies that you're with every day go down like that, and you just have to go back and keep doing what you're doing. I mean, all the credit to them to finish up this season.
Yeah, amazing! Like what they've achieved in the last few weeks, the turnaround they've had, it's an incredible story. I think I might be jumping the gun, but I think the point gap they have now could be too high, depending on results above them. But that they've battled all the way. It just does go to show though, like next year they'll come again. They'll be right up there. They'll be in the mix, and it just shows that those teams are all going to be getting better. Hopefully, makes
Yeah,
the league better.
it will. And I mean, if you look at their record before the incident, uh, they were top of the table. They had like
Yeah.
I think they were like 13 or 14 points in the first 7 games, and they sat well above everyone else. And then obviously trying to get back to their ways after taking that time off. Obviously, it's not easy on anyone, but yeah, I mean they're going to be right back at it. I'm sure they're going to obviously want to respond after this season and kind of just maybe change the culture there after the whole incident, and then I mean everyone else is going to get better, right? I mean Manchester, Glasgow, uh, Glasgow is. I mean they're obviously you can see they've making big jumps, and Cardiff is always going to be good, and Belfast and Sheffield, and now it's our turn to kind of get up there and see if we can get back up there and compete for trophies like last year.
Yep, like this is the time of the season to do it. The way it stands right now, it looks like you guys in Manchester are going to go head to head
Yeah,
in the quarterfinals. It does. I mean, it doesn't really look like they're going to catch Belfast. It doesn't look like any of the teams below will catch you guys either.
yeah.
You, how's your series been against Manchester this season?
Pretty close. I mean, Manchester's a tough rink to go in and play.
Yep.
Um, yeah, it's a small rink. They obviously know how to play in that rink. They're in it every day, and yeah, well, when you get out like a really good like when they're on their kind of A game there in their rink, I mean they're a tough team to beat. They beat pretty much everyone in that rink so far this year. Uh, so yeah, tough rink to play in, but we match up really well against them. I find, especially when we get them back home and we have different ice surfaces, so we have played different games, but. No, I mean it's going to be obviously a 2 game series and it's going to be a good series at that, right? They're going to have their best games and that their goalie, I think Wenninger or something.
Guys, lights out.
Yeah, he's lights out. He's like you see his stats, you're just like, oh, absolutely, right? So if we just kind of, I mean, it's going to be everyone's going to bring their A game, and I feel if we just kind of play the way we can and have at certain points where we just dominate, I mean, I think we can walk through that series and go to the final weekend.
That would be massive for the Guildford Flames to be there once again.
Yeah.
What do you make of the playoff format in the UK?
I'm not the biggest fan of it, honestly.
Nope, me
I
neither.
get why they do it, right? Like the way I was kind of thinking about it is like you have 15 imports coming over, or say, I mean, top teams are bringing 16, 17 imports in. Uh, it's hard to like plan a say 4 series, 7 game each kind of playoff run, and then try to book 15, 16 flights right before kind of whenever, right? So I get that like the whole monetary side of it, but as a Canadian, we grow up with like you see the Stanley Cup playoffs. There's no better hockey in the world than Stanley Cup playoffs, right? You create those battles. You play the same team 7 times, and anything can happen in 7 games. So that's the kind of like playoff hockey I've always kind of enjoyed and loved. But the nice thing about this league is that the league title means so much that every game kind of means something.
Yeah,
Whereas say back home, you play a 50, 60 game schedule and you're like, oh, we're just kind of just playing to playoff position. You're just like some games you might go into a bit of a lull, but here it's every game matters, right? Like you drop say a game in like the second, third weekend here at the start of the season, you're like, we can't do that again. Like we have to be good the whole way through. So in that terms, like that, what I think that makes up for it. But the playoff format itself, maybe not the biggest fan, but I can see why they do it and the whole idea behind it. But I mean, at least if there is some playoffs, I'm still happy. I think all the boys are happy to do that. But I think obviously 7 game series and fight your way to the final is kind of the way to do it.
I would love to see that. Honestly,
Oh, I mean,
it's what UK hockey fans, players, anybody that's involved, that anyone that doesn't pay the fucking checks, anybody
yeah,
that doesn't pay the checks is
yeah.
like, let's go with a 7 game series.
Like I could only imagine a 7 game series against Cardiff. Like that would by game three, it would be a bloodbath and 9 guys would be suspended.
Yeah, or like it would just be so intense, 1 goal games. Would you say, obviously, league positions would say that Cardiff are the second best team in the league behind the Sheffield Steelers this year? From your battles on ice with them, would you say that's a pretty accurate reflection of the season?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think they're kind of a gamer kind of team. Like they win games, and that's what you have to do to be good in this in the league, right? Like, yeah, I mean, some teams might have more skill, or you'd be like, wow, this like I'd say Belfast might have a bit more skill, but the thing with Cardiff is they just kind of they win games. They play a hard game, and when it comes down to it, they're going to get the goals to kind of get the 2 points at the end of the day, and that's what makes you a good team over the rest of the teams, right? So, I'd say they're second team. Uh, I think it's obviously on standings, yeah, they're second place, but in terms of skill and all that, I put them kind of right in that, yeah, the 2, 3, 4 spot. But hey, the league table puts them at second, so you can't really go too much off that.
Yeah. Are there any of the lower down teams that have perhaps surprised you this year or how much they've improved on last year or the season before?
Yeah, I mean Manchester,
Yeah.
they've done well. They're a good team this year. I mean they're a bigger kind of heavier team, and they kind of just play a hard game and they get their goals when they need to. I mean you can see they've kind of let up a couple goals too, but they're all their games are close and they'll squeak out those wins. So they're Manchester have been very surprised with. Fife I thought have done they've done a good job. I know halfway through the season they were dealing with a lot of like injuries and stuff, right? And they had a couple guys leave and what have you, but I mean they've been a good team. They have a lot of firepower up front. And then when Shane Owen's on, right? Like I mean,
Yeah, he's
Shane
good.
Owen he's a difference maker. So yeah, they're good. And then everyone else is just kind of like Coventry. They've been a good team. Like it's just the thing is there's no bad teams this year. Like
Yeah.
even Dundee. Dundee is like obviously based on the standings, they're like 9-10. But what's this?
That's
Sorry,
what
okay.
that's how that
Yeah.
does it. So when you went like this and it gave a thumbs up. What
Yeah. All right. I guess I'm not giving thumbs up, but
I
yeah,
haven't
so
noticed that but
yeah,
until
I just
today.
was
That's
like,
great.
what's going on? But like even Dundee, like they've beaten us a couple times, right? They obviously have Valentini and Nos and they have a lot of skill up front. But yeah, they've won games and it's just there's no teams in this league you can take lightly anymore.
No.
Right? Like you're every game you're in it, you have to be in it, or you're going to end up losing. So, yeah, Manchester. I'd say Manchester, like Manchester, Fife, Dundee. They've really kind of surprised me.
One of my favorite moments from your season this far, might be a bit biased, seeing as he's one of our boys. Our boy Longer in goal there.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
waited for a fucking shot for a very, very long time. He gets chucked in
absolutely.
a shoot, gets chucked in a shootout. You boys get the job done. How special was that for not only for him but for the boys? Because hey, everyone there is rooting for him to get the win as well, right? Like,
Yeah, and there's no better guy to see. Like, just I mean, obviously you've seen that he hasn't really got his chance, and he comes to the rink every day for the last 2 years, and kind of just waiting for that. And waiting for an opportunity, and I mean, he works and he's just always out there with us, and he got the opportunity, and I would probably say that's one of the most fun hockey games I've ever been a part of, and
Oh, awesome.
probably easily the last 5, 10 years. I mean, because we were in a kind of a little bit of slump, and we were down. Mac goes down in the third period. We're down 4-2 going into the third. They get up, or we're down 4-3 going in. They score right away to make it 5-3. So we're just like, okay, well, we'll see what we can do. And we get two late ones, and it might have been one of the most spectacular performances. He stops all five in the shootout, and we just go
Unreal.
nuts. Like
Yeah.
we were just over the moon for him. I mean, it was so good to see. Not only did we get the win in like a seven, or it was like a 6-5, I think it was
Yeah,
even
yeah,
like a 7
6-5.
6 win, six
Yeah.
five win. And we're just like, and then to win in shootout and him go, we get one goal and then he stops all five. Like you're just, you couldn't be any more happy for the guy. Like it
Yeah,
was
seriously.
honestly, it was just one of the most like kind of heartwarming and just most fun kind of moments of hockey I've had easily in the last 3 years.
Yeah, I love that. That's
Yeah,
great.
and long as I lived with him my first year, so we get along really
Did
well.
you?
And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it was me, Longer, and Chip the first year. So we've right off the bat we were like really good friends. So and then just to see that, like see what happened for him, you're just like you're just like almost tip your cap to him. You're like, good job, bud.
So you touched on being in a slump. You boys have had
Yeah,
a couple like this year where you've not really got going 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then you've been solid for
yeah.
5, 6, 7, 8 games. What's going to be the key to locking the consistency now? Because here on out, it's you need to be winning hockey games.
I think it just comes down to yeah. I think it just comes down to like just knowing the type of hockey we have to play moving forward, right? You have playoffs coming right up. Playoffs are every team is going to be at the top of the game, and if we even like we have 4 games luckily to like kind of just dial in and get into that
Yeah,
like hey playoff mindset because you have 2 games with Manchester back to back and then 2 games to win the cup. So yeah, I think it's just a lot of we just got to bear down. We just have to kind of just make sure we play the way we are designed to play, listen to the coach, and then just I mean, obviously, just don't even grip your stick too tight. Just kind of play loose and play with like that swagger that everyone says, and good things will happen, right? If we just all kind of lock in and we're just, I mean, it's a game of who makes the least amount of mistakes.
yeah.
So if we can limit those, I mean, who knows what happens?
How have you found playing for Paul Dixon? I really like playing for Digger. I thought he was a beauty.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just, yeah, I can definitely piggyback off that. Great. I mean, he's been my coach for 3 years, and I mean, I mean, hopefully for years to come. But no, it's great to play with him. As you know, he's a player's coach.
Yeah.
Um, he knows the team. He's been in the league for 30 years, so he knows the type of team that he needs to win, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like the guy's he's been around forever, and he knows the type of teams that it takes to win. Oh, stop with this thumbs up thing.
I
But
don't even know why it's doing that.
yeah, but like he knows the team. He knows the type of team it takes to win, and I love playing for him. He kind of lets us. He gives us the game plan and kind of lets us kind of work a little bit within it. And he's super positive. Just it's a treat going to the rink every day and just kind of having him as your coach. Right? You're never. He's not the coach to be like you're ever scared to talk to. Like
No.
he just likes being around us, and we like being around him, playing for him, and I just can't say enough good things about playing for a coach like that.
So you said, you would like to potentially play for him for another few years. Obviously, 3 years in so far, you very well settled in Surrey. You enjoy it in Guildford and like living there and away from the rink and stuff.
Yeah, they like we were talking there earlier before this is just like they take care of you here, right? I mean, you're close to London. Guildford's a beautiful little town here, and
Yeah, it's lovely.
it's just they take care of you, right? There's nothing. They make it all about you taking the stress away outside the rink, so you can focus on hockey at the rink, right? So the housing's taken care of, and they're great. I mean, you're never really in need of anything, and if you are, just a stone's throw away from Steve that can help us out, but yeah, it's just I find I've kind of settled in here, right? I mean, and I also kind of thing I always have. The grass might not always be greener on the other side, right? So
No,
if you got a good thing going, why change?
it's a great spot. I remember the mantra in Guildford when I played there was, "We're going to take away all of your excuses. You need new
Yeah,
sticks, they'll be there. You need new fucking steels for your skates, they'll be there. You need a massage, you'll get one." You turn up on fucking Saturday and Sunday and do your job.
And you obviously like you know what that's like, right? When you don't have to worry about anything outside the
Yeah.
rink and you're taken care of in the houses and you can just go home, relax, no stress, and then once you're to the rink, like you're just that's all you're focusing on, right? Like it does make a huge difference, right? Like we were probably living in the same kind of places from when you did way back, but you're no more than 10 minutes from the rink, like 10 minutes with traffic, but like it's like a 5 minute drive, and then you're just like everything is just so taken care of, where it's just like you almost feel like you just want to perform, you want to do your best, and you want to kind of like pay it back to what they've been doing for us. So
How do you enjoy like being so close? All the team houses are right next to each other. It must always be fun to have, the guys just down the way.
oh, it's fantastic. I mean, we have all pretty much 95% of the team within a minute walk of each other, right?
Yeah, it's
Like you
great.
know how it is. We have the one street and the other one, and it's just anytime like you're never too far away from any like, oh, you're bored. Oh, I'm gonna go over and watch a movie, or like you want to have dinner with the guys, or hey, day off, let's go have some beers. And then it's just like everyone is just you can see what everyone's doing. You can go over, you can pop home. It's just it's nice to be around the guys, right? Because you're around them and you're a family for 8, 9 months.
Yeah.
Like it's the closest thing to a family, I think, in sports is where you're just like no one's going off to live at their own housing. And I mean, I know in other leagues, a lot of guys are locals and they'll just you don't really see them outside the rink. But here, you just it's kind of a treat just to be kind of with the guys for 8 months straight.
Yeah. Just you build such special bonds with people, and that'll go on long after the season does, and the career's finished. Guys will still be in
Yeah,
touch. You build these class
absolutely.
relationships.
Yeah, you
Let's
get friends
let's
all over the world.
well, that's what I was going to get to. Let's roll it back because you weren't always a Guildford Flame. You got to start
No,
somewhere. Ontario boys. So I mean, hockey was it always going to be in the blood? Always going to be in the DNA there?
yeah, I mean, just the Canadian culture. You're on skates at 4 years old, right? So yeah, so I grew up in Aurora, and just for like it's a town of like 40,000 people. It probably is like similar in like square footage to Guildford, but there's probably 8 community rinks that all have like 2 or 3 pads.
It's
So
insane.
like the infrastructure's there to just play hockey, and that's what you do. You just play hockey at a young age, and yeah, I loved it. Well, I didn't. I mean, when I was first starting, as most kids do, you cried a little bit when you're 4 or 5 years old. But once you kind of get into it and you start loving it, and then, I mean, even just from a young age, you're just around the guys and you build those friendships there. And at one point, I was just like, hey, I'm pretty good at this game, so might as well see what I can do. And just kind of, I mean, obviously went from there and did the junior career, the university, and now I'm over here. But yeah, just the infrastructure is there in Canada to be able to facilitate every young kid to play hockey, right?
What
Like,
was the dream? Was a dream to obviously being in Ontario, but was a dream to go OHL?
I mean, for me, it's a little bit different. I mean, because obviously I was never really too kind of involved or really until my draft year, I wasn't really too familiar with the OHL. Like I was just like,
Right.
oh, I'm playing hockey, I'm having a great time, and I didn't really think of like the next step too much. And then once you kind of get drafted, your team start calling you and everything. But yeah, once that kind of happened, I went pretty high in the draft. So I was like, yeah, let's try it out and see how it goes. So it's obviously a great learning lesson, and the way where I went at such a young age, right out of the house at 16. So did that, and then yeah, it didn't quite pan out, and wasn't really a fit for me at that young of age. I guess I needed a little bit more time to develop and kind of find my footing. And then obviously went back to Aurora, my hometown, played junior for a couple of years, and then from there it's just like I didn't really want to play in OE area because you get 5 years of junior eligibility in Canada.
Yeah.
And I just was like, 4 years is good, and I just started going on the university route. So that's kind of stepping stones. But yeah, OHL was never really like from a young age at 10, I'm like I'm gonna play OHL then NHL. It's just like I guess teams want me to go play for them next year, and one thing led to another, and then I got drafted. So
What was your experience like? Because obviously, looking through your OHL, you got 27 games with the Storm, and then the following season, 11 games with the Storm, and then 29 games with North Bay. North Bay again for 17 games. So you're not playing full seasons, but you're getting in some. Were you like
yeah,
scratched or injured or a bit of both? Or
so when I got drafted to Guelph, I wasn't really too Well, I mean, like I could talk about this now. It's just like I didn't really like. They were one of the only teams I didn't talk to going into the
Oh,
OHL draft.
okay. Yeah.
So like I talked to all the other teams, and then I just was like, oh, Guelph Storm are picking, and then like, oh, we saw Kyle Locke. I'm like, okay. And then next thing you know, I was doing it online because it was like a virtual like online draft. So then I get drafted. Like we're watching the webcast and see my name, and I'm like, oh. Then the texts start flying in and everything, and then next thing you know, I get a call from like the OHL media thing, like, oh, do you want to have an online like on like live interview? I'm like, okay, thinking like obviously my emotions are super high, so I call up the like the host of the draft and like, oh, what can you tell us about Guelph Storm? I'm like, I don't know anything about them, unfortunately. Like, oh, what do you think of Scott? Because Scott Walker was my coach and he played in the NHL for, I mean, a
Yeah.
long career. And they're like, oh, what do you think of Scott Walker? I'm like, I've never heard. I don't know who that is. I'm sorry. Like, and this was like kind of what I went into. And then they were just a young team. I got drafted into like the youngest team in the OHL. So there's no like all the guys above me who were like the draft picks the couple years before. I know obviously
Yeah.
they're fantastic hockey players. Like I played with Patrick Watling in Guelph for the season there, but like all the guys, you go through them. Like Ben Harper was a year older than me, defenseman, and they got Andre Paydan, and then Matt Finn, and I mean you got Kirby Reichel, who's up front, Robbie Fabry, Brock McGinn, Jason Dickinson. Like we, Tyler Bertuzzi was on the team,
Right.
and
Good
Zach
players.
Mitchell, just all great players. I think like at least 10 to 15 of them have had NHL games. So I came into that team and then I just didn't get the chance to play because there was 7 guys who weren't going to move on for another 2 3 years, and I was just kind of stuck in that like 7 8 role. And I mean, I got a lot of games. I got in at forward, but I'm not a forward. I'm not going to try to beat around the bush. I can't play forward. I'm not a good forward. So they put me out forward for a bunch of games, and then I went back down to junior B just because I wasn't able to get into that kind of lineup. So yeah, no, it was a good learning experience, and I mean, just kind of you build those kind of memories and just like that. You just kind of learn at a young age how to live away from home and stuff. So, but yeah, then I went back to junior B at Cambridge, and that was probably the most fun I've had with a bunch of guys playing hockey. Right, I'm still friends with most of them to this day. So, no, it was definitely Guelph was good, and the North Bay was, I mean, fantastic guys once again, and the builds were fantastic. The place was great to live, but again, just kind of wasn't really their draft pick, and they had a bunch of other guys that were kind of like between me and them, and just wasn't really the right fit in the end. So, kind of said like, I might as well go play hockey down in junior and see if I can develop some more.
Did you really enjoy that stepping back down and getting more ice time? And like you say, you're still buddies with a lot of the guys from that junior B team. Was it a nice kind of like stress release where you've got all this battle going on just to be able to go down and just do what you love, play hockey?
Absolutely. Because you got to think like if you're not playing, you're not developing in a sense, right? Like obviously you're around the team every day. You can still develop and practice and what have you, but playing game is where you are going to become a better player, right? So playing, I think I played like 8 games of defense for Guelph, and then the rest were like forward and playing 5 6 7 minutes a game. You're not really going to develop. I'm not going to learn how to handle these forwards. So taking a step back was just kind of like you go from not playing to like being relied on heavily, even like at 16 years old. And the guys were great. We went on a really long playoff run. We almost won the championships, the playoffs and games. I think we lost in game 7, 3-2 loss. So it was, obviously with that, you build those memories through playoffs. And that's what I was saying, going back to like, there's nothing, it doesn't beat, or there's nothing that can beat like a 7 game series to win a cup. So no, it was fun to like. I mean, shout out to those guys. To just it was such a close knit group, and I mean, I'm forever grateful just kind of be able to go play with them and do that for the 3 4 months I was able to.
You finished your juniors, like you say, back home. You played for the Tigers. Your
Yeah,
last season, your points went up considerably, but so did your PIMs. Your goal scoring went up, I think. So let's look at the stats here. 49 games, 13 goals, 21 assists, 34 points, 134 PIMs. Did you really feel like you were just making a mark on all facets of the game at that point?
yeah. I think at that point it kind of just everything was kind of like I was able to say I was actually developing, right? Like I was understanding how to play that game, and to be able to kind of like obviously be a bigger guy and be a good skater and kind of just do other assets of the game. I think everything was just kind of coming together. And yeah, obviously the PIMS, I got penalized a bunch, and the games I didn't play, I got suspended a bunch. But for the most part, I think kind of everything was just I felt like a complete player at that time, right? Like obviously I wasn't able to do it in the OHL in my time there, but going back to junior, living out because I was from Aurora, so I was living at home with my parents at the time,
Perfect.
and I lived 7 minutes from the rink, and all the other guys were local guys too. So it's just kind of it was fun. I mean, that was just a blast of a season, and I was relied on heavily, and I mean, I think I did pretty well. So um, yeah, no, that was definitely a very very fun season just to kind of feel like you just kind of becoming a player, right?
So the OJHL is Junior A, right?
Correct. Yeah, that's the Ontario Junior Hockey League.
Yeah. So it's a very good standard still. You're still playing against a lot of
Yeah.
good players, right?
Yeah. And I mean, you look, there's still like my rookie that year was out. I mean, I know with the scandal going on, but my rookie that year was Alex Fermenton,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
Like he's in the NHL now.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously with the scandal going on, you don't really want to talk too heavily on that. But
But,
yeah, and then like the year before, Cam Morrison was another rookie. He went to Notre Dame. He's in the AHL now, and yeah, like I mean, it's a quality league. Uh, Good guys. They've all a lot of like I mean, a couple players have had really good careers so far, but yeah, it's still a great league. It was just so convenient being so close to home and playing junior hockey in my hometown, right? So
so at that point, are you eligible to get paid doing Junior A? Are you guys working? Or like how does it work in terms? Obviously, you're lucky enough that you're a local guy living there. You can live at home and stuff. But if you're maybe a guy from out of town, how does it work with funding and costs and stuff like that?
yeah, so most if you're out of town, you're playing for the team, you find a billet family. So
Right.
a family from the town is obviously going to put you up, and they'll have a room and they'll cook you meals. And I think they get a kickback from the team, just
Yeah.
but they do it out of the passion, I guess, for just providing for guys like this. So there's a couple billet families that house the guys from out of town. We had a lot. We actually had a lot of local guys. We probably had half our team was within because it's such a huge hockey community. Like I
Yeah.
mean, growing up Newmarket, Aurora, we had probably had 10 to 12 guys that lived no more than 15 minutes from the rink that were just good enough to play junior, right?
That's actually wild, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, and then like I mean, a lot of the guys, pretty much all the guys went on to play NCAA hockey, NCAA
yeah.
or like OUA hockey. Like one of my buddies I played with, Noah Delmas, he was in the league last year. Now he's in Poland. So, I mean, it was still the standard of hockey was quite high. But yeah, so they'll about pay. I mean, nowadays it's kind of gone. It's shifted away where you may have like obviously equipment's provided, sticks are provided for, and everything. But now it's a little bit more pay to play, just I guess with the cost of everything now, right? And
Right.
you're looking at these new Bauer sticks, man. They're like $480 Canadian for a brand new hockey stick,
It's fucking
right?
nuts.
Like it's absolutely absurd. I don't know how anyone affords it anymore, but so I think when I went there, I don't think we got paid. I mean, from what I remember, we don't got paid, but we didn't have to pay for anything, right?
It
Like
was all taken care
I
of.
yeah, you got you're well. We had a really good owner too, so sticks were taken care of, and equipment and all that stuff was good. And they wouldn't completely pay for skates, but they give you a little money for it, so that was nice. But you just have like, I mean, because I was out of or out of high school at that time, so I just had a little like part time job on the side that I was just
Yeah.
sharpening skates at the like I would literally practice, walk 100 steps, and I'm in the hockey rinks pro shop, and then
Okay. Yeah.
I'd work there for 5 hours, make I don't know, a couple bucks, and that's my spending money for the week. So I did
Perfect.
that a couple nights a week. But that's what a lot of guys did. They were just kind of like I had a buddy who was cleaning windows and stuff. Well, he wasn't really cleaning windows when we were playing hockey, but he just do it all summer and live off that during the winter months. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a very very chill kind of life, but yeah, you just kind of supplement it with like a little part time job when you're there.
When you made the decision that you were going to go to play university hockey in Canada, who was you talking to, and how did you end up deciding you were going to go to Ontario?
Yeah, good question because I didn't play my own. Cause yeah, so like I said, you have 5 years in junior to play, kind of like play out your career. But I chose not to play my OA year. I just
Yeah.
felt with like I just felt with like because they introduced that new head checking rule, and I mean because I mean obviously in that league you're playing against 16-year-olds and 20-year-olds, and the 16-year-olds might not be good enough to go to the OHL and know how to protect yourself. So I was getting a lot of I would say bogus calls against me just because, oh, big hit, we'll give you a head checking call, and then you get two of those, then you're suspended 2 games, then the next one's 4, the next one's 6, the next one's 8. Like, I mean, so that was I was just kind of getting a little like saying like physically, I thought like I could maybe move on just to go play university hockey and get that going. So that's like kind of what I did. I just one day, because like I think the way it worked is they're not allowed to contact you until you're 20 years old.
Right. Okay.
So at the time I was 19, so no team in Canadian hockey is allowed to contact you. So I just sent out a bunch. I kind of just drafted up a big email, said here's my grades, and this is where I'm playing. This is what I want to do. Here's my name, and I just sent it out to like 5, 6 different schools. And the one that like I mean, so I got a bit of feedback back, and a couple schools wanted me, but the one that really took the most interest was Ontario Tech, where I went to school for 4 years. And they just kind of right off the bat, they're like, "Hey, yeah, we want you here. Come for a tour. Come this, that. We'll get you in your program. Here's everything." So, and I just kind of like I appreciate that when people do that for you,
Yeah.
right? They kind of like go out of their way to accommodate you and show how much they mean to you, or you mean to them. Sorry. So yeah, I just went with Ontario Tech. It was like 45 minutes from my house, but I still lived on campus. But I mean, 45 minutes to an hour away, like you can't beat that. So, uh, yeah, it was a new school. Had a great time. I actually played with Alex Yule there for 4 years as well.
I just
So I've
saw
been,
his. I was just scanning through stats. His name popped up. I saw that.
yeah, he's my longest tenured teammate. He's set. We're This is our 7th year together.
Yep, that's a good. That's some good going. And when you guys were getting recruited over here, were these conversations happening back home? Were like, obviously, Guildford went notoriously down the Usports route, and then before you knew it, other teams were doing it. I think that's a testament to you guys that came over from that
Yeah,
league. I think because you all came over and everyone's done really well. They're like, fuck it, we're missing. Like, let's go Usports. Let's get guys from there.
it's good hockey. I mean, because you got to think like most of the guys in that league played out their full junior careers. Most guys in the OHL, QMJHL, or the WHL, and then they go on to university hockey because maybe they're not good enough to go to AHL or I'm AHL and NHL. So when you play in like one of those the major junior A leagues like the OHLQ and the W, uh, you get every year you play, you're getting free your university
Eligibility, right? Yeah.
eligibility. Oh, you get a like the team will pay for a year of schooling,
Yeah.
right? So that's kind of the way they pay you in the end. Like, so they don't have to pay you as much while you're playing, but like, hey, you play for us for even if you dress one game, we'll pay for a year of schooling. So, yeah, that's why a lot of like that. That's why the hockey is so great. Like, I could probably say 15 guys on our team have gone through Canadian hockey, like the OUA sports, and then obviously the other guys went to. We have some guys, the American guys, go through NCAA.
Yeah.
But even then, like 10, I mean, Fergie played, I think U of A. He played there for 4 years. Ripper was from OUA. Brad, my D partner, Sinker, Chip, me. Like, it's just, I mean, even our goalie Taz, like, there's so many guys coming from that league. And you can see it all over. You can see it all over our league now. It's just the quality there is quite, like, it's quite high. So, yeah, I mean, guys are eager to come over. I didn't talk to Guildford until after COVID year,
Yeah.
uh, just because COVID happened, right? I mean, who knows what was happening and where the league was going and who was playing and who needed, and so there was a lot of kind of uncertainty there. And then my 3rd year D coach in university, Scott Campbell, he played with Digger back in
I
oh
remember
one
that
oh
name.
two. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Scott
remember that
Campbell
name.
played with him, and he was my D coach. He's like, "Hey, Digger, I got 2 players for you, Alex Yule and Kyle Locke, and I think they'd be great." And got the call one day, "Hey, you want to come over?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely. Let me just kind of figure a couple things out, and I'll call you in like 4 days once I because it was like 2 months before I had to head out, right?
Yeah,
So
so
at the
pretty
time, I
quick.
just pretty quick. I just like, hey, yeah, absolutely, I would love to play, but I just got to kind of figure a couple things out, right? And then called him back like 4 days later. I'm like, absolutely, everything's figured out. I'd love to come over.
Did you did you think that the standard of the league was going to be as good as what it is? What's the sort of
I
words that you hear back there? Because that's always the thing that interests me before you guys come, what you hear before you get here, and then how you think it compares once you actually arrive.
I mean, the biggest thing I heard was like, have fun drinking warm beer. And then next thing you know, you have more cold beer here than
Yeah,
Canada,
anywhere.
than like anywhere else I've ever seen in the world. Right.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing. Like, oh, it's going to be raining and kind of warm beer. I'm like, okay, I don't know what I'm getting into because it's the first time I've ever been overseas. But no, the quality of hockey it was high. It was just kind of going from OUA, which you're playing 28 games a season, like if that, and then going to a 70 game schedule after cup and playoffs, and just how competitive it is and how good you have to be every night. Like that was the biggest kind of change for me. Uh, obviously the hockey's been great, but like I think even this year, like I think the biggest changes or the biggest shocks to me have been how good the league has gotten over the last 2 years. Right, like my first year, yeah. I don't even know who won the league that year. I think Belfast. No, Belfast was last year. I think Cardiff. Yeah, Cardiff won the. I think it was Belfast. Cardiff won playoffs. But
Yeah.
even then, it's just like, wow, these teams are good. And then last year, you're just like, oh my god, these teams are so good. And then this year, I'm just like, everyone's so good. So I think that's just kind of been like I've seen more change because I came in just not knowing. I was
Yeah.
like I saw. I obviously you check the elite prospects of everyone that's ever played hockey, so you're just kind of seeing what the quality's like. And I played against a couple of them. So I knew it was going to be great hockey. But then just over the last 2 years, I think that's where the biggest change is. Like this league has gotten to be like a very competitive league.
Do you have guys from Usports reaching out to you asking about, ways they could get into the league? And is there interest from guys still to come over and test themselves?
Oh, yeah. You get texts all the time. I mean, I know a bunch of guys that get texts all the time saying, like, oh, like I played hockey with or whatever, and being like, hey, like, oh, I want to get over to England and tell me about it. And I heard it's great and you guys get to live the life and everything. So I get that all the time. Well, not necessarily much anymore. More so when I was kind of back in university, guys the next year would be like, "What are you doing?" Like, come over, blah blah blah. And then yeah, it's just sometimes you just like you look at the quality of hockey and like the guys whoever I talk to, I'd be like, I don't think like obviously like Guildford, like we have a team we want to build like a super fast and skillful team, and sometimes you're just like you don't know what to say. You're like, I don't think like I don't control who. Like I'm not an agent, buddy. Like I'm just a player. I'm just happy to
Yeah,
be here. I mean,
yeah, just doing my thing.
I mean, as much as I would love to have guys over here, like I'm just grateful to have the opportunity to be here, right? So, and then heaven forbid you bring a guy over and he's a defenseman. Like, hey, I don't want to
Yeah,
bring
to take the
competition
spot.
again. I don't want you to take my spot, dude. Like, I love it here. Like, I don't. Yeah, oh yeah, you're a great defenseman, but like, if I bring you to Guildford, I lose my spot. But I haven't really had too much of that, mostly forwards and stuff. But then again, I mean, it's just you just the words going around that like the EIHL, like players get taken care of. You're a great part of the world, and it's good hockey. So, I mean, as the years go on, you just see more and more guys coming over of like high quality. You're just like, yeah, I think this is it's just so good for the fans, and then obviously for the quality of hockey on the ice.
Here's a question for you. It might be a bit controversial.
Uh,
What
let's
was
hear it.
uh what was it like being in an elite league battle and the Champions Hockey League come out and basically just fuck you guys right over and just be like, hey,
Oh
you can win and you're not allowed to play in our tournament.
yeah, so yeah, like that was the thing. It was just like we were just at the rink. Like, obviously, we're doing so well. We were top of the table in Belfast. It was like us in Belfast right to like the final 2 3 weeks. We're just like neck and neck. And so one day we're all just like we're like obviously you're getting excited. You're like, oh, we could go play champions next year. And like, what team do we have to play? We have to play an SHL team or whatever it may be. So we're all kind of getting excited. And one day of practice, I still remember it quite vividly. We're just sitting there, kind of just like I think it was before practice, after a workout or whatever, and we're just kind of killing time. And one of the guys is like, "Guys, you just see this on Twitter?" We're like, "What?" So then he put in the group chat. We all see it, like, "Oh, uh, EIHL is eligible to play next year," and then in the asterisk right at the bottom, it's just like, "Oh, if the Guildford Flames win the league, they are uneligible to play." And we were just like, honestly, just like, pardon the language, we were just like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Like obviously I get yes, the infrastructure maybe of our rink isn't up to par of some of the other teams you see in this in the league or in the other European leagues, but you're just like why? Like why like couldn't you like just not have us like we could play in the massive arenas in London
Yeah.
Like we could go to Nottingham. We could make something work, but they're just like, oh no, you guys can't play. You guys are too small of a club. We're just not going to let you play. So obviously that kind of it was disheartening. It was honestly like we were sitting there. We're just like you could just tell like the mood just dropped. Like everything we've worked for the last 7 months, just to for one tweet saying, yeah, even if you win, you're not going to be able to go. Right? You're just like, and that's sometimes you want to sit back. Like that's the politics of hockey, but in the end, it's a business. It's an entertainment thing, so I get it. But yeah, that was and then just all over social media, everyone back home was texting me like, I just saw this on one of the daily EIHL or Puck Empire, or whatever Instagram site they'd see it from. They're like, "Is this true?" We're like, "Yeah." We had no idea. Then we sent it to our coach, and the coach was like, "We heard nothing either." Right?
So they
So
didn't even let the higher ups know.
no, I don't think our coach was
Bush
like, "Yeah,
League.
we just yeah." Our coach was like, "Yeah, we found out when you guys found out," and they didn't even ask us like, "Hey, could you create accommodation if you were to host a big club? Could you go
Yeah.
to 35 minutes away to one of the big arenas in London?"
Yeah.
Right? Like, heaven forbid. Like, but no, that was. It, I mean, as much as I say I disliked it and it absolutely sucked and just kind of kicked the shit out of us like mentally. You're just like, I get it. It's a business in the end, but like, just give us a heads up. Like,
Yeah.
give it to our coach so our coach could tell us before we have to respond to 19 text messages from random saying like, "Oh, you guys can't go now." Like, yeah, I don't know. I guess not. Like, so yeah, that was a tough pill to swallow after doing having such a great year, and then next thing you know, you're just like, yeah, even if you win, you're can't go.
Very disappointing the way they handled it. As you said, it's something we talked on here before at the time, I believe, saying, yeah, look, the Panthers are down the road. You could have, in the grand scheme of things, if, Sparta Prague are flying, they can fly to, Nottingham. They don't have to fly to next to fucking Surrey.
Yeah,
Whoever, Munich, you can get there. Like, whoever it is, it would have been great for the league to, I think, actually, to have a team like Guildford, not a Belfast, a Cardiff, a Sheffield, and Nottingham, the teams that have always
yeah,
notoriously been in the European. Get Guildford in the market. Like, let's
huh.
go.
Yeah, like in that, and that's what it is. Like if you look at the last, I don't know, say 10 years of trophy winners, it's only the arena teams,
Yeah.
right? I mean, maybe one Challenge Cup here or there, but for the most part, it's just one of the four teams. And now it's kind of coming to where like Guildford now has like we know what it takes to win, and now we just got to make a couple tweaks, and we're right back up there. So yeah, I think it would be really good for the league. Obviously, I mean, maybe hopefully fast tracks building a new rink for us, but yeah, like heaven forbid, like they just fly into Heathrow, and then I know there's like a couple rinks in London that could host it, and
Yeah.
their travel's less. They could just take a quick bus over, and we'd have to travel to our own home game. But uh, yeah, I mean, it just looking back at it, you just like, hey, I mean, maybe try to accommodate it. Heaven forbid we won, but yeah, in the end, because they're always like the weekday games too. You're never like, hey, Nottingham or hey, Cardiff or hey, London. Like, I'm gonna kick you out on a Saturday. It's like, hey, can we borrow this rink for a couple hours on a Wednesday?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. That's just kind of yeah, that was something that we had to deal with, and wasn't maybe the greatest thing to kind of read when we had no prior conviction of what was going to happen. But hey, I mean, in the end, as everyone knows, it's a business more than anything. So.
Was it disappointing that the club elected not to go into, the second European competition from a playing perspective?
Obviously, yeah, it'd be cool to play in those tournaments, right? Like any chance you get to play on an international level and play against other teams to do that. Yeah, it would have been cool, but then again, I mean, it's up to our owners. It's our owners' decision. It's the team's decision to do something with that. And I get it. I mean, it's a lot of money to go because we wouldn't be able to host it. Like Cardiff, I believe they were able to host their own tournament
Yeah.
because they have the arena to do so. So I mean, to buy 20 flights to fly somewhere in Poland or fly somewhere else in Europe and do that twice, like I mean, it's a lot of money, and maybe the kickback wasn't there, and maybe the focus was somewhere else. But no, I mean, obviously, it's you always want the opportunity to play an international level of hockey, but I mean, it's just no one's really too beat up or sad about it. Like it's like obviously we wanted the champions and we didn't get it, so Like you're just like, why settle for second best kind of thing. So no, I mean maybe a little bit at the time, but I get it. I totally get it, and I mean, obviously it kind of helps the kind of the body and the extra amount of games you don't have to play.
Oh yeah, because those tournaments will take it out of you, that's for sure. 3 games in 3 nights. You then get through that qualifying round. You got another tournament, 3 games in 3 nights, and then you've got to make up the games that you missed on a weekend
Yeah,
later on in this season. So then you're doing, threes and fours, fives and sevens, and that's when it'll catch up on the body, right?
yeah, and that's I mean that's already we're playing. If we go to the final weekend, like that's 72 games,
It's a
72,
long
73
season.
games. That's a long season, especially with like in the 8 months that we do it. So yeah, and then you add the travel in there. Obviously, it would be cool to see other places, but in the end, that's just another 4 to 8 games that you're beating up on your body, right? So no, I mean, yeah, I get it because I think well, Sheffield or Belfast rejected it, then we rejected it, and then Sheffield also rejected it, and then Cardiff took it, right? So a bunch of teams kind of you saw the like, and the Cardiff had the opportunity to be able to do it. So uh, yeah, that was at the time maybe sure, but I get the decision in the end.
Yeah, I think business, as you say, it is a business, and they've made smart decisions to make sure that you guys can carry on being good this year, continue to grow. You've obviously you've been here 2 years. You've had two different playoff experiences. You went to the final weekend the first, and then you didn't quite make it through last year. Talk us through your playoff experiences in the UK so far.
Yeah, so first year we finished fifth with Guildford. We had a great group of guys that year. But it ended up being Nottingham in the 2 game aggregate. Like the first game 4-4, and then the second game we were down 1-0, tied 1-1, down 2-1, tied 2-2, and then we got up 3-2 and won it. So we were all kind of just ecstatic, right? Like obviously we had the up and downs that season, and we were able to just go to the final weekend, and we were that close against Cardiff before going to the finals. Uh, just we were lost 3-2, and it was quite the game, but. So that was a really fun opportunity. It's really cool. Just kind of all the teams get to a single location. Last year was a little tough. Nottingham was kind of that team that we just kind of always struggled in their rink, right? Like we had such a good season, and then first game we lose 4-1 at their place, and we're just like, come on. So obviously we knew we had a lot of work going into the second game back home. But the funny thing is, within the first 10 minutes of the game, we were up 3-0. So we are just like, yeah, yeah, like that's it. And then the team I mean, like they rallied, they tied it up 3-3 as the game went on, and then we got another couple goals. We ended up winning 5-3. But as aggregate happens, you're kind of just that you got to get those goals. So yeah, the 2 game series and kind of just game ended. You're just like sitting there, like, oh, that was just it happened so quick. You're like, oh, we had such a great year, finished second, planning on winning everything, and
Season
then
done.
yeah, and then you just play 2 games on a weekend. And you're just like, wow, we lost. Like you win the game 5-3, but you lose the series. You're like, oh, I guess that's it.
Very disheartening.
Yeah, absolutely right. Like it's just, and I mean, it was kind of kicking the nuts after the season we had. Right, we all had aspirations of winning it, hosting the cup, and we definitely thought we could have. But yeah, it's just well, that's what happens in those playoffs. I mean, that's hockey. You go down 4-1, and which we shouldn't have, but it happened, and they played a good game at their own barn, and we did our best at home, but just couldn't get it. And then yeah, so that was really the playoffs. There were pretty. It definitely hurt. It still lingers kind of thing. But this year, I think we have a good opportunity playing Manchester, and then going through. And I mean, now it's in a neutral arena. Anything can happen. So
What did you like the fact that I mean, obviously it was a first experience for you, but all the teams coming together, everybody in one bar, the atmosphere is great at Nottingham. Like the fans they all get fucking buckled and they go hard and they have a good time.
absolutely.
They get a bit loose on the weekend. But as a player, good fun to play in.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's different, right? I've never kind of experienced that. Well, obviously you get like the tournaments when you're young and you have all the teams go, but in pro hockey and you just go and all the teams and all the fans are there and you're just kind of like neutral barn, but you still have enough fans. Like it was honestly a really cool experience and we loved it. And I just thought it seems like peculiar in a way, but like it works, I find. And it's a lot of fun to play in front of, and you're there for the weekend. You have a job to do. It's win Saturday, and then once you do that, you just got to win Sunday, and the next thing you know, you're hosting a trophy, right? So
Yeah,
you
it's
go
a
from
crazy format.
end of the season to hosting another trophy in just 2 weekends of hockey. So you just know, hey, 4 games. That's all it takes, and anything can happen in 4 games.
Yeah, and then it's crazy. Technically, you only really need to win three. You could lose 2-1 at home, win 5-1 away,
Yeah.
and then two games the next weekend, and you're champions.
I mean, you could
It's
do what we did earlier
wild.
in the season, playing Glasgow, going up to Glasgow on a Wednesday and tying the game 0-0 and just
Yeah, that's
ending.
wild.
We're just done the game. We're like, that's it. Like no, like not one goal is being scored. No, okay, I guess that. All right, now we're going back home for now a 1 game series.
How cool was it being in a 0-0? Because that doesn't happen very often.
That doesn't happen. I like it was just like you didn't know what to believe. You just like you don't get any like adrenaline from scoring goals. You're just doing your job as a defenseman. You're just doing your job. Stop. Like you didn't allow them to score all game, and then you tie 0-0. You're like obviously in your mind you're like okay we're going to overtime now, and then it's just game's done. You're like it almost feels like anticlimactic. You're just like that was it. Like we drove 8 hours. We flew up. We have to drive 8 hours home tonight for this, right? Like not even like
Yeah.
one goal. Not even for the fan. Like I mean the biggest thing like I feel sorry for the fans.
Yeah, 200 pound in flights and fuel and everything
Yeah,
else. Get up there and zero goals.
they watch a game of like a perfect masterclass of goalies, and then you're just like, oh, okay, well, good job, goalies. I'm heading home now.
Yes,
So
that's
yeah, it
a
was
24-hour round trip for zero goals.
yeah, it doesn't happen to. I mean, I've never been I don't think too many people can say they've been a part of a 0-0 hockey game. So
Well, that's the only way it can possibly happen is in
yeah,
one of these aggregate formats. Like
yeah.
in no other way. Every like league game or world championship game, whatever it may be, it has to be
Al-
settled. So
Always a winner and loser. Just never just a 0-0 tie. Which was
then you have
even if
to
it's
kind
zero
of think,
zero, like in the second game 0-0, you can obviously have shoot or overtime and shootout, but the first game it's just done. They're just
yeah.
like, all right, well that's yeah. So that was as you know, aggregate. You don't have to win or lose. You can definitely tie as well.
A couple of fun ones for the fans, really, before we wrap up. What do you like to do away from the rink? I know, obviously, we spoke the other day. You were heading to the course, so golf take up a good amount of time for you boys.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, golf guys are. We got a couple golf guys on the team. I mean, we had yeah, like I said, we had 10 guys out there on Monday. So especially with the weather slowly getting nicer, you can go out a bit later. I mean, heaven forbid you get daylight savings coming next week, so
Oh
that's just
yeah,
going to
let's
even.
go.
Oh God, I can't wait for that. But yeah, so a lot of it, yeah, a lot of the time we like to go into town. I mean, the Guildford Town Center is beautiful, right? So
Really
you
lovely.
buzz around, you play, you might check out a couple spots here and there, but and then golfing a bunch, and then just a lot of time with the guys, right? Like whether like we have a couple guys that like to play darts, so we'll go play darts sometimes, and there's a couple of good spots for pool, and yeah, just kind of hanging out and doing different little things, right? So it's just a lot of time with the guys. Golf takes up a big because the only days off you really have are Mondays, so
Yeah.
if you can, and the weather's if it's not rainy, you go golfing, and then the rest of the time you're just kind of keeping busy around town and with the guys.
Did you get up to London much at all?
I did the first couple of years. So it's expensive. Going to
Yep.
London and spend a whole day in London, it's not cheap, man. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that for free. So yeah, like we'll go in maybe once a month, once every 2 months. But
Yeah.
first year we're going in once a month all the time and making days of it. Now it's like I've been there, I'd say enough times where it's not like, oh, I gotta go once a month, right? It's just like, oh,
Yeah.
cool event, we'll go to London, or hey, you want to just haven't been there in 2 months, let's just go for a day kind of thing. But when you do, you spend money. So
Oh yeah. 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 London's not cheap. It is good fun. Have you been lucky enough
great fun.
to hang out at any of the other spots on the road at all? Maybe Belfast or any of the other spots there?
Yeah, we've hung out Belfast because just the way the flights work and stuff. Uh, Last year, or no, to my first year, a couple of me and the boys after a game in Glasgow, we just took a
Nice.
train. We didn't play. We were up there Saturday, didn't play Sunday. Had so had Sunday, Monday, Tuesday off, I think it was. So we just went over to Edinburgh for a couple of days. That's a
Nice.
beautiful city. So we've done that, but most of the time, I mean, it's just the way that the league works. You're just kind of you're in and out of towns, right? Like you don't really get to. We'll never have a time where we're sleeping over in Cardiff or we're sleeping over in Coventry. The only places you really do are Scotland
Belfast.
and Belfast, right? So yeah, we've gone out to Belfast a couple times. Just after you finish your game, you fly out the next morning, so you have a night to kind of go and check out some things and see some you see some different bars and stuff. So we do that, but other than that, no, it's just most places you're in and out and you're back on the road.
What about any sort of European trips? Have you managed to get to anywhere else in Europe while you've been over this way?
Yeah, so I've been in Spain a couple times,
Yeah,
and then once
nice.
the end of the season, kind of we had a trip in Tenerife last year, a third international break.
How
So
was
we had
that?
it was a time. We had 10 of us end up going down.
Nice.
So it's just like, hey, we got 4 days. We haven't seen the sun in 2.5 months. Let's just go where
Yeah,
the
no
sun is.
shit.
So we had like 10 guys, and that was an absolute riot. Yeah, we still talk about it to this day. It was a very action packed 3 days of time away and time in the sun, and yeah, it was a trip.
Good way to recharge the batteries,
Oh God, and drain
kind
them too
of.
at the same breath. Yeah, yeah, I was gonna say
Kind
I don't know how much
kind
recharging
of.
was being doing, but we had batteries and we used them. That's for sure.
That sounds like good fun. Who's the best golfer on the team? I've already asked a couple of the Guildford boys. It'd be interesting to see who you think's the best.
I would say, I'd say Husey. We have
Okay.
two guys playing off pretty close to scratch.
Nice.
Turner Ripplinger and Ryan Hughes.
Yeah.
But who knows? I mean, some days when we're going golfing on Mondays, no one's in their top form, right? You finish a game on Sunday, and you're like, all right, well, our work day's over, so might as well have a couple. So some days you're not really, no one's really in top form on Mondays, but I think those two guys are pretty neck and neck. I give the edge to Husey, but uh, yeah, those two guys we have. I mean, we have most guys are in the 5 to 10 handicap range, no problem. So
So it's a good golf getting played.
yeah, it's always. I mean, yeah, you're always for winter golf. Everyone's in the 80s mostly, 80s and
Yeah.
80s and low 90s for a couple guys, and then you get the other like Husey and Ripper. They might just go and put up like a +1 or something, right? So there's some good
That
golfers.
must be nice.
Oh, wouldn't that be a treat? Wouldn't that just make life so much
Just
easier?
once. I saw a meme today and it was like chicks bragging about this, a chick bragging about this, and a guy in the bottom, he's like, I shot 79 once. I was like,
Yeah.
fucking relatable.
Oh, my favorite commercial ever. It's an old golf commercial. I think it was for Nike, but it's like this guy and a guy and a girl are kind of lying in bed after doing the deed, and she's like, oh, she's all like flustered. She's like, that was is tell me there's no other better feeling. And he just goes in. Well, obviously they're completely naked. They just finished the deed, and he's just like, well, me and my buddy last Thursday we were out at the course, and I hit this one 350 dead center. You couldn't believe this. Like, look at his face, and you could just see her like she just turns around and I'm just like, yeah. And then he just keeps going on. He's like, and then I hit this chip shot, and then it just cuts away, and he just continued to going on. I'm like, that's yeah. If you could do that with golf all the time, it'd be easy. It'd be fun.
Be a fun sport if it
Oh
was like
God.
that. It'd be
Yeah, I
so
wouldn't
much
mind.
easier.
I wouldn't have to spend
Um,
all my money on it.
yeah, I'm balls hitting them out the woods.
Absolutely.
Who's the biggest joker on the locker room?
Biggest joker. I mean, we got a couple like I mean, there's so many different like it's tough to say, right? Because you have different personalities, but everyone's funny in their own right. I say Griff always has some funny things to say.
Good old Welsh
Hughes, he's
boy.
a good old Welsh boy. He's funny. I'd say Hughesy's always been a really funny guy. But like it's just like you have different personalities. Like Bashkov's great, and then you got a couple. Alvy's like a great guy's guy. And he has more one-liners and sayings that you could ever think of. Like it's just, and then like some guys are funnier in different ways. So, but I think if you're just talking about jokes and stuff, I think Griff's pretty always on. He's always on with something funny to say. Hughesy's kind of just Hughesy, and he's funny. And I mean, Alvy just he's always looking for a good laugh and good chuckle. So yeah, there's a bunch of guys who just kind of like to yuck it up, as we say.
Yuck it up. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, with the last couple of questions here, with these couple of games you've got leading into the playoffs, how do you guys approach them? Obviously, nobody wants to get hurt right now, but you
Yeah.
do want to be firing, you want the PP firing, you want all these things. How do you guys approach the last couple of weekends, knowing that you can't really go up, you can't really go down, nothing's going to change table wise?
It's yeah, you kind of just gonna have to look at yourself and do it right. Like, hey, we know we're kind of solidified ourselves in the table at this point, and we just got to make sure we're on for these 4 games. So all practices, we're still skating, we're still skating hard, we're still battling practices, we're still just like we want to win these 4 games and get the confidence as high as we can going in this final weekend, right? So yeah, I just you just kind of have to look at yourself, and obviously the coaching is helping with that. But you just take care of injuries if you got them, work your absolute bag off, and just make sure you're ready for the games. Like as much as they maybe don't mean, they mean more than you think. So that's kind of you just gotta look at yourself and say like, hey, we got to do this. So
Well, Locker, I wish you luck the rest of the way. Hopefully, I will be seeing you on the playoff Saturday, ladies and gents. 4,000 and counting, and we have 3 live podcasts over the playoff finals weekend. Mark's going to be in from Vienna. Producer Graham's going to be down from Blackburn. We've got the whole team there. We have Todd Kelman as one of our guests, 2 more guests to be announced. They're going to be 2 podcasts at Saltbox outside Nottingham Arena and 1 within the green room inside Nottingham Arena. Make sure you check that out. Locker, I appreciate your time, buddy, and best of luck in the last 3 weeks here.
yeah, appreciate that. Thanks for the chat today. It's been a pleasure, and hopefully get to see you guys on playoff weekend.
Yeah, we will, man. We will. Best of luck, buddy.
Absolutely. Thanks, bud.
Thanks, mate.
Appreciate this.
Ladies and
Bye bye.
gents, peace.